And we're live. Hi everyone, it's Ash here from FPL Hints, here with my first draft team reveal for the 23-24 season. Of course, the Fantasy Premier League game hasn't gone live yet, but thanks to the release of the Premier League fixtures and the FPL.team tool, I've decided that I can go ahead with my first draft due to the predicted prices that are also incorporated in that tool. I'll also be using the FDR that's been created by livefpl.net as well, as you can see on screen there. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So one of the things that firstly came to mind for me was looking at the opening fixtures and who are the teams to avoid and who are the teams that you must invest in. So early on from the get-go, you have to say that you have to buy Arsenal players, Brentford, and Brighton players. Now, I know with Brighton, they'll be in Europe this season as well. And also, they might lose some key players in addition to the challenges that they have this season. But I feel that, you know, they'll hit the ground running with those initial fixtures. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, first of all, on the goalkeeping side, I wanted a 4.5 goalkeeper. And really, the only one that came to mind for me was Crystal Palace's Waita, because I feel with them, they've got Sheffield United in the opening fixture. Of course, Arsenal will be a bit tricky in game week 2, but up until game week 8, it's fairly reasonable. So if I was to wildcard after game week 4 or even after game week 8, he's hopefully a safe pair of hands to have in that squad. So first player in on the goalkeeping front will be him. And in terms of a 4.0 keeper, it made sense for me to also pick a Crystal Palace 4.0 keeper as well. I've got no idea who that 4.0 goalkeeper will be at this moment in time, but just for argument's sake, I'll just pick the first one that comes to mind here or on the screen. So Crystal Palace 4.0 goalkeepers. I'll pick or was it Johnston actually? He was playing matches as well. I might be wrong there actually. So I want a 4.5 goalkeeper for Crystal Palace. But let me have a look who was playing last season. I've completely forgotten. Pretty certain it was Johnston was getting the games in at the end. But yeah, it wasn't Waiter at all. So it's live. I can't edit this. So let's start again. So Johnston will come in. So Guaita out, Johnston in. My apologies. So I can't edit that, but let's rock and roll. So I'll put him in goal. I've no idea who will start between them, but assuming it'll be one or the other. And my 4.0 goalkeeper, I'll just pick Whitworth for the time being. But I definitely want a Palace keeper, and it'll be one or the other. So there we go. And just to keep it nice and simple and not too complicated, let's get our premiums in straight away. So, of course, I'll start the season with Haaland as my premium attacker. I'll pick Mohamed Salah as my premium midfielder. Both will have a generous run of games, and of course, I'll pick Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. So, nice and easy, not overthinking it. That's a premiums in straight away. Now, in terms of like another defender, like Trippier was a mainstay throughout the whole of last season, but his price will increase significantly. So I won't be picking Kieran Trippier in this first draft. But for me, the next best alternative, and perhaps he'll be the Trippier of this season, perhaps, I have to pick a Stupinan in my team. So I believe, according to FPL.team, his price will be 5.5 million. Absolute bargain. Of course, things might get tricky for him during the European campaign, but from the get-go, he makes perfect sense. I also want to change this formation as well because I won't be going 3-4-3. I'll be relying upon a fourth defender. So I'll just switch the formation now. And I've got 2 defensive spots still to fill, and I'm going to go to Arsenal for that. So just go to defenders. It's going to be Arsenal. And I mentioned if I go back to the FPL FDR created by livefpl.net, that Arsenal have that generous run of fixtures from the get-go. Forest, Palace, Fulham, and then of course United, Everton. But up until game week 7, you could pretty much start an Arsenal defender if you really wanted to. And I'm gonna pick, well, from the top, it has to be Benny Blanco, better known as Ben White, as my starting Arsenal defender. Now, for that fourth defensive spot, I wanted a player from a top team as well. And coming back to the fixture, well, it's on the screen there. The fixture planner from Live FPL. United have a good, interesting run of games. You could potentially rotate a United defender from the get-go. So Wolves at home in game week 1, Forest at home in game week 3. So from my side, the one Man United defender that comes to mind, and I'd hope that he is still 4.5 million, and I'd hope he still starts. It's Wan-Bissaka. So in he comes, and that's the defense complete for my starting defenders. I also need a 4.0 defender as well, so let's fill that in as well. No idea who the go-to 4.0 defender will be, but let's just say for argument's sake, because we saw Totti and Bueno getting minutes for Wolves, I'll just pick one of them for now, but probably won't be them come the eve of the actual game week deadline. So that's all the defenders and the back line now complete. So I'll just share my screen, apologies. So there we go. So Johnston in goal, provided he starts. White, Estupinan, Trent, Wan-Bissaka and Totti as my defenders for game week 1 for this first draft team reveal. Now coming on to my remaining midfielders, of course funds will be quite tight, but one player that I definitely want to get in who actually didn't do as well as the previous season, and I feel that due to potential personnel changes, I think he'll make a significant impact again due to the new manager. It has to be Kulusevski of Spurs. I have to get him in. Don't really care what his EO is right now. I just feel that with the new manager at Tottenham, not sure if they'll hit the ground running or not, but due to that attacking mindset that he has, I think that Kulusevski could definitely benefit. And coming on to my next midfielder, it's back to Arsenal, and it's Martinelli. Wanted to get Saka, but he's going to be 9.5 million. I'll save an extra 1 mil for Martinelli. Have to get him in my team. Makes perfect sense. Due to the way he started last season, of course, there were patches where he didn't do much at all, but he was an absolute standout player. And against that Forest back line, I've got no doubt that he'll cause them trouble. Now, on to my final midfield starting spot. It'll be a newly promoted club, and it's going to be Sheffield United. I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. I probably will. Ndai, if that is the way to pronounce it. He had a healthy number of assists, healthy number of goals for Sheffield United last season. He makes my starting lineup. And of course, newly promoted players are an unknown quantity in the Premier League, especially if they've never featured in the top flight before. But I'm going to take my chance on him because I can't think of any other 6.0 midfielders that come to mind who I would consider. Now, coming on to my remaining striker position, I am getting short for funds now, but the one player who I've admired, and the problem with him, it's been really his lack of minutes. And it's Brentford who I'm going for, and you'd think straight away he's going for Mbomo as his striker option, because of course Brentford have Tottenham, Fulham, Palace, and Bournemouth in those opening fixtures. I'd love to get Mbomo, who will probably be guaranteed a lot more minutes than who I'm about to say. But the player that stands out for me, and provided they don't sign any strikers, because of course Ivan Toney's got that long-term suspension now, it has to be Brentford's Wissar. So Wissar comes in, and many are wondering, why like him in particular for Brentford. Of course, without Tony, you'd expect him to get significantly more minutes than he did last season, especially during the first part of it. But one thing that really strikes me about him is he had a good end to the season when Tony wasn't in the team. I think he got 2 goals and an assist in the final 3 games. Overall, Wissar has quietly clocked up 14 goals and 6 assists over the past 2 seasons. And, it could be a differential potentially for this Brentford team. But I've literally got him because there's no other 6.0 strikers that I'd really consider. So that brings me on to my final 2 spots now on the bench. So I've got a 4.5 forward slot and a 4.5 midfield spot as well, just for the sake of having a sub 3. And I've got no doubt he'll probably not get that many minutes as well, but I don't really care because I lost a lot of bench points last season. So I'll get in Taylor. Yeah, Woodrow would have been nice, but he's 0.5 too much. So in comes Taylor, who'll be my sub 3, and I'll switch this around. So there he goes. And that leaves me on to my final spot, which is the 4.5 midfield spot. And of course, Pereira was the go-to player for Fulham last season because I believe he hadn't made his move to Fulham at that point. He was still considered like a utility player for Manchester United. Game got released, and then shortly after, he became that go-to player because he was one of the focal points of Fulham's attacking options. So I am going back to Fulham again, and it's more out of necessity, really. I just want someone who will quietly pick up 2 points, and that's really it. So the only player that really springs to mind in that price bracket, and I'm sure there'll probably be a newly promoted players who I could consider in this 4.5 spot as well, but it's really Reed, only player I can think of right now. So there we go. Budget's been completely maxed out. I've got a balanced defensive line with a generous number of premiums in each of those positions. I feel it's fairly balanced. 4-4-2 made sense, especially with all the price hikes that we have. I'd love to have a United attacker in here as well, but if I even got that far, I'd have to downsize Wissar, Ndai, and some other players, and it wouldn't be worth it. So I just want to start off with a nice balanced team for this opening team reveal. So Palace goalkeeper, I won't say I've got Johnson, but could be Whiter. But yeah, Johnson in goal. White, Estupinan, Trent, and Wan-Bissaka. And Ndai, Martinelli, Kulusevski, and Salah. Wissar and Holland make up the front line. And then I've got my bench fodder there as well. So there you have it. Let me know in the comments below if that's a good start or if I need to radically alter this team as well. Of course, when the game gets released at some point in July, we'll get the actual prices of each player. And of course, summer transfers will also have an impact on how my actual draft evolves over time. But I feel this is a good start. Got a good balance all round. But there you have it. Let me know what you think, and all the best with your first drafts as well. Thank you, everyone. And just a reminder once again, this tool that I've been using is FPL.Teams Planner Tool. Be sure to check out their website, and also the FDR that I showed on screen as well. That's from livefpl.net. So there you have it. Take care and all the best, everyone. Thank you. Bye.